Welcome to the Friday free-for-all edition of the Nightly Nuge. And Ted, great week this week, getting all kinds of positive feedback. People love to hear Ted Nugent's take on all of this. Hey, what's that?
There's some positive feedback in this room, I can promise you that.
That's right. That's what people turn in for the Friday edition of the free-for-all edition of the Nightly Nuge. Well, Ted, listen. I want to talk about music. I want to talk about you in particular, but I want to talk about big tech and how big tech censors some entertainers and influencers while promoting others. We saw the recent story where the Biden administration was paying entertainers to put out specific information when it came to the COVID vaccine. We've seen where they've censored conservatives like yourself, James Woods. I could go on and on. So first of all, what's your take on big tech and their relationship with one particular party, it appears, and how that's impacted you personally as a celebrity, as an entertainer, as a husband and a father, in your ability to message your fans?
Well, you know, big technology advances can be very beneficial. I'm an author. I write for a number of publications. I'm very proud of that. And I'm able to get on these technological devices and slam out my writings and send them to the editor with a push of a button. And I'm able to communicate with my kids on this apparatus that I can keep with me all the time and share hunting pictures with people around the world. So there are some real benefits to it. But when it comes right down to the abuses and the anti-American censorship running amok, let me say that again. The anti-American censorship running amok. When the Facebook stuff first started, it was a great opportunity to communicate with people around the globe. I was talking to people in Japan and Australia and New Zealand and France and Spain and Germany and Britain and Ireland. We had a great rock and roll thing and talking about freedom, the Second Amendment freedom that the other nations wish they had. So it was a great orgy, shall I say, of positive, open, uncensored communication until we started to realize that those in charge of big tech were anti-freedom, were anti-constitution, and glaringly anti-American. So before they figured Ted Nugent out, how hard was that? I had upwards of 36 million reach. I think I had more than Beyonce at one point, and she's hot. Because I reek of truth, logic, common sense, plus I'm a funny guy. So people would love to hear truth, logic, and common sense that resonated with them, plus the humor that I just reek of. I mean, I'm so much fun, you got to be weird not to enjoy me. And then they started figuring out that I was a constitutionalist. Ooh, I was promoting gun ownership. Ooh, I was promoting venison and conservation and hunting, fishing, and trapping. That 36 million went down to 3.5 million. And when I talk about those important conservative values on big tech, it gets censored down to a dozen. And people are warned, Ted Nugent has violated our community standards. Let me tell you what the community standards are of big tech. Truth, logic, common sense, goodwill, decency, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Ten Commandments, the Golden Rule, earning your own way, living within your means, saving for a rainy day, and balancing the herds during the natural hunting season. Those are all violations of their community standards because their standards are in the toilet. But if I was promoting sex with children and that you can't call it pedophilia anymore, you can call it some kind of minor attraction, there's no problem with that. If big check fact checkers are actually fact checkers, I'm Caitlyn Jenner's boy toy. They're not fact checkers, they're liars, and me and Bruce Jenner used to have a good time. So the facts in this outrageous anti-American jihad by big tech, you have to admit that I'm on Truth Social now, the Donald Trump, Kevin Nunes social media, Truth Social, and we can actually celebrate a First Amendment, freedom of speech. I know about you, Keith, that you and we don't want anybody filtering anything. Bring everything you have on, and my gift of intellect and scrutiny, defiance and suspicion will determine what information I can best utilize and which is toxic.
You know what?
Well, that and big tech interferes with that independent thinking, that defiance, that suspicion that is so critical to being an American.
I know you're not a fan of country music, but you're a fan of the First Amendment. So imagine this, when we're talking about the two parties, if one of those parties was in power and said, well, that's it, only country music, we don't ever want to hear rock and roll. That's very right on the point with what the liberals are doing right now when it comes to conservative speech. And I think it's just wrong, Ted. Final word on the matter.
Well, once again, smart Americans, people who have been educated on the street and through the history and the education that is meaningful, truth, logic, and common sense, and the evidence to support that truth, logic, and common sense, we are really fed up with what our government is doing, what big tech is doing. The censorship is glaring and running amok. So if you want censorship, if you believe that your thoughts and your decisions and your dreams and your hopes and your opinions should be squashed by a bunch of insane, dishonest fact checkers, then vote Democrat. Censorship is good for Democrats. They like controlling people. If you want wide open free speech, as enumerated in the First Amendment of the U.S. Bill of Rights, then you need to vote Republican. If you want censorship and tyranny, by all means, vote Democrat. The evidence is inescapable.
Yeah, and I will go ahead and throw out the .org organization, Ted. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, go to huntthevote.org. We welcome everyone there that believes in this experiment in self-government. Go to huntthevote.org, pledge that you're going to vote, make a plan to vote, and then go vote. And Ted is setting forth the two sides of all these issues. Whatever resonates with you, go vote your conscience. I happen to believe in one side of this equation very strongly. I know most of our listeners and viewers do, just like you, Ted. But I encourage everyone, go to huntthevote.org and go vote next week.